Have you ever heard the legend of the Blair Witch? It's a story whispered around campfires, a chilling tale used to keep kids from wandering too far into the woods after dark. For most, it's just that, a story. But in October of 1994, 3 student filmmakers, Heather, Mike, and Josh, decided to find out if there was any truth to the whispers. They packed their cameras, ventured into the Black Hills Forest near Burkittsville, Maryland, and set out to make a documentary. They were never seen again. A year later, their footage was discovered, buried beneath the foundation of an old, derelict house. The tapes revealed a terrifying descent into madness, a journey that started with nervous excitement and ended in pure, unadulterated fear. At first, their trip seemed normal. They interviewed locals who shared unsettling stories about the witch. Stories of children disappearing and strange occurrences in the woods dating back centuries. The students laughed it off, convinced it was all just local folklore, a ghost story to spook tourists. They were tragically mistaken. The first sign that something was wrong came on the second night. As they huddled in their tent, trying to sleep, they heard noises from the darkness just beyond the canvas. Twigs snapped, leaves crunched. It sounded like footsteps circling their camp. Josh and Mike yelled out, but there was no reply. Just an unnerving silence that followed. When dawn broke, they found a bizarre and horrifying sight just outside their tent. Small, human-like figures made of twigs and twine hanging from the branches of the trees. All of them eerily pointed in the same direction, north. From that moment on, things only got worse. The forest itself seemed to turn against them. Their map, which should have led them back to their car, became useless. They walked for hours in one direction, only to find themselves back where they started, circling the same creek over and over again. Paranoia and exhaustion set in. Heather's confident narration on the camera grew shaky, filled with panic. Mike's skepticism turned to anger and despair. Josh, once the group's joker, became withdrawn and sullen. The nights were the worst. The strange sounds returned, closer and more aggressive this time. They could hear what sounded like children laughing and crying, just out of sight. One night, their tent was violently shaken by an unseen force, sending them scrambling out into the pitch-black woods in a blind panic. They were lost, disoriented, and utterly terrified. Forest was no longer just a location for their film. It had become their prison, and something was hunting them. Then, on the 6th day, Josh vanished. One moment he was with them, the next he was gone. Heather and Mike called his name until their voices were raw, but the only response was the mocking echo of the trees. That night, the most disturbing event yet occurred. As they huddled together, they heard Josh's screams of pain coming from deep within the woods. The following morning, Heather found a bundle of sticks tied with a scrap of fabric from Josh's shirt. When she opened it, she recoiled in horror. Inside were bloody teeth and a piece of what looked like a human tongue. The final reel of footage is the most difficult to watch. It's chaotic. Film, in near total darkness, as Heather and Mike stumble upon the very same abandoned house where their tapes would later be found. They believed Josh was inside. From within the decaying structure, they could hear his desperate cries for help. Mike, armed with only a camera, rushed in, with Heather following close behind. Her own camera capturing her terrified, tear-streaked face, Sue. The footage becomes a frantic, disorienting blur of crumbling walls and debreathed rooms. Mike's voice calls out for Josh, his shouts echoing through the empty house. Heather follows his voice down into the dark, damp basement. Suddenly, Mike's screams cut off. Heather calls his name, her voice trembling. Mike! Mike! She enters the basement, and her camera pans across the stone walls. Ned, in the far corner, Mike is standing motionless, facing the wall. Just like the local legends described, one of the witch's victims doing decades earlier. He doesn't move. He doesn't respond. Then, Heather lets out a blood-curdling scream as she is struck by an unseen assailant. The camera clatters to the floor, capturing one last, blurry image of the basement before the tape cuts to static. Silence. That was the end of the footage. The end of their story. The 3 students were gone, and the Blair Witch remained a terrifying enigma. Their tapes serve as a chilling warning. Some legends are real, and some woods are best left unexplored. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown. Stay safe out there.